Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining another episode of the Educational Leadership Podcast. We are interviewing another very special guest. Before we introduce our guest, we do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Ideal Impact. Ideal Impact's given hundreds of millions of dollars in the form of a free gift to school districts around Texas, Oklahoma, and actually they're expanding across the U.S. So, um, yeah, unrestricted funds, doesn't involve the government, doesn't involve taxpayers. So if your district needs funding for anything, reach out to Ideal Impact. Okay, we have our co-host Corinne French. Hey, Corinne.
Hey, good morning. So glad to be here. Can't wait to get started.
Yes. We have Superintendent Harris from West Orange-Cove Consolidated ISD. Superintendent Harris, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, absolutely. And so we're spreading the good word about public education. There's a lot of great things happening in public ed that gets overlooked sometimes. And we're in an interesting time where we want to highlight these great things that are happening. And Superintendent Harris, before we get into that, could you share a little bit about your background?
Yes, ooh man, how far we want to go back? Uh, well, I got I went to Abilene Christian on a football scholarship. Got my degree, my undergraduate degree from Abilene Christian in biology and pre-med. And then I left there, and then I decided, well, I got engaged, and then decided that, you know what, I better pick up a teacher certificate along the way. She's going to do the medical thing. I need to make sure I got a job. So I got into teaching and coaching. I was a graduate assistant at Abilene Christian. And then I left there and went to got my first job at Willow Ridge High School in Fort Bend ISD. There 8 months. Then I went back to Abilene Christian as a full-time football coach for 3 years. Then I left, went back to my hometown in Hillsborough ISD as a uh, football coach and football coach, basketball coach, and I had a unique experience of teaching U.S. history on a temporary certification because they didn't have a biology space available. So I did that for 1 year. Then I became a biology teacher, and then I left there after 2 years, and I went to Wilmer Hutchins in Dallas for 4 years as a football coach, basketball coach, and then I got into administration in 2004, back in my hometown as an assistant principal. Did that for a year. Then I became a coordinator of alternative programs, where I was able to build early college, high school, a alternative program for students that were having issues with the graduation, just to provide an alternative method for students to graduate. Did that for 2 years. Then got my first building in Itasca ISD. Shout out to the Wampus Cats. I was there for 5 years. Then I went to Cedar Hill ISD as the principal of the Cedar Hill Ninth Grade Center. I was there for 2 years. Then I was moved over to the high school as an assistant principal. And then I think I'm probably the only superintendent that jumped from a assistant principal to a superintendency. So in 2015, I became superintendent of West Orange-Cove CISD, and been here. This is year 8, going on year 9.
That's awesome. Wow. So
I love that. Go ahead, Gary.
No, I just real quick. Is it tough making a transition from the athletic side of things to administration? Is that kind of typically a tough transition?
Well, it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me because, as an athletic person, we're used to being able to supervise kids in unstructured environments. And we're used to creating structure in an environment where it seems unstructured. The one thing that people don't understand about coaching is, in order to be a great coach, you got to be a great teacher, and you have to be a great time manager. If you ever go to a practice, everything is on a schedule. I mean, every 15 minutes, things are moving and changing. I mean, it's just I mean, a lot of people come to the football games and they enjoy the game. Oh, yay, right. Everybody's coming out the locker room. But what they don't understand, everything is on a schedule from the time they come into the locker room. We're taping at this time. From the time we're not taping, we're doing pregame. It's just everything is on a schedule all the way up until the coin toss. Everything is scheduled. And so you have to be a great organizer, and so that gives you a good experience for when you become an administrator. Administration is all about organization.
Yeah, wow, that's interesting. That makes sense though. So yeah, because we interview some superintendents, they were in the classroom, just your standard classroom teaching, but that makes sense from an athletic standpoint because yeah, you're dealing with a lot more unstructured environment, but you have to organize it and make it structured basically. Yeah, and bring the different teams together. So that's interesting. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Corinne, what was your question?
Well, kind of like, yeah, I think I love every guest because their stories are so unique. Yet, like most of the time, we're interviewing superintendents, and so they get to this point with all their background. And I love that you talked about all the different schools and the different spaces. I always want to know when you were when you're in their first classroom, did you see yourself as a superintendent someday? And then tell us how that happened. What happened to make you decide to be a superintendent?
Yeah, honestly, Corinne, it goes back to when I was in high school. The unique thing about it was I had an opportunity as a senior in high school. Um, in the afternoons, I worked in the superintendent's office. So I would go over to superintendent's offices and I would do things. I mean, that was a part of my credit, to go over there. And so I got a picture of the office and a picture of what it was. And so when I started my career in education, I always said that okay, I'm going to be I'm a coach for uh, maybe 10, 12 years, and then I want to get into administration because I love coaching and all those things. But as far as for me, I was more on a business minded side of things. So I shot out the athletic director. I never could land the job as athletic director that I wanted. And so I said, okay, well, if I can't, I'll say it this way, if I can't coach a team, I'll own the team. So I shifted over, and then that's when I started my path toward being a superintendent. But I always knew I wanted to be in the business side of education.
I love that story. I was just like so excited. I want to interrupt you and be like all bubbly. I did the same thing my senior year of high school. And I think what I noticed then, I don't think I thought that I could do it. But I think I loved how he he was putting out fires all day long and speaking to students and speaking to teachers and speaking to the community. I mean, he was doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
And with this calm certainty. And I think that's the thing about superintendents that I am continuing to respect is that there's something about y'all. Now, however you came there, like if it was through curriculum instruction or becoming a principal and moving up or coaching, when you get to that spot, there's something that you all have. And I think it's this humble. I think you're humble and strong leaders. And I don't know you, we're just getting to know you today. But I sensed it, and I love that about that role, that there's so much expected, but there's also so many rewards. And so I think even though I didn't aspire to be one, it is pretty interesting that I ended up on a school board for many years, and some of my favorite people are superintendents. You saw yourself though in that role when you were basically still a child. I mean, I know we don't want to call 18-year-olds children, but you were
Yeah.
still basically a child. So tell me, is there something that's a surprise now that you have it? What are you
Oh,
surprised about in that role? And what do you
well,
want to tell that 18-year-old that sees themselves in that role?
well, I would say this. I would say that the surprise is the amount of people you're asked to be in one person. I know that sounds strange, but you have to be yourself, but at the same time, you have to be able to flex and be able to uh, communicate with all different types of people, and you have to be able to Okay, I'm not over HR, but I'm responsible for HR. I'm not over
Yeah.
finance, but I'm responsible for finance. I'm not over curriculum, but I'm responsible for curriculum. So, just like you were saying, you saw your superintendent doing all those things, but you only got a small picture of what's really going on, and um, the thing I think that is so surprising to me in this role is having to do it all and make it look easy.
Mm.
I mean, that's the key. I tell my principals and I tell guys all the time. I said, y'all think it looks like Soup just walking around smiling and having a good time, shaking hands, kissing babies, and doing all that kind of stuff, and it looks very, very easy. If it looks stressful, then that means I'm not doing my job well.
Yeah.
That makes sense. No, yeah, you see that with other industries as well, whether it be athletics or whatever, right? So yeah, it's one thing knowing how to do it. It's another thing knowing how to do it with grace and making it look easy. I mean, I think that shows you're an expert, like if you can do it and make it look easy.
And I'm
Um,
still growing.
yeah. Well, so speaking of that, so what are you passionate? I mean, there's a lot going on. What are you passionate about right now in public ed, whether that be at your district or some other bigger picture within the state or nationally, or what are you passionate about in public ed right now?
Well, honestly, I'm passionate with public ed about where we are with standing firm on what we're able to do and the students that we're able to reach. We're dealing with a lot of stuff, and we're dealing with a lot of political things. We're dealing with a lot of things that outside barriers and all the. But the thing that I'm loving about public ed is we're still standing tall and saying, hey, whatever you throw at us, we'll deal with it. Just give us time. If we have enough time, we'll figure out whatever it is. And we don't do it for ourselves. We do it for the betterment of kids. I think one of the best examples that I could ever give anybody on being proud for public ed was during COVID. You know, Many people do not. We flipped our entire educational system in a week. I mean, spring break, COVID came, COVID hit. I was in Orlando, Florida, with my family on a Monday. We're flown in, got in there on Sunday. On Sunday, I started meeting with my team on Monday. By the time we were supposed to come back to school for that next Monday, we had an entire system, an entire platform laid out, everything ready to go, where kids can pick up Chromebooks and all that kind of stuff, where students can eat and all that stuff done. you know. And so that's what I'm most proud about public ed is, we don't get to choose who come to us. We don't get to choose who come to us. We don't get to choose their issues. All I know is this: Mama's sending me the best that she has on this day, every day. Just the best she has. She can't if she could send us another, she may, but this is the best she had. And so we got to do, and what I love about public ed, we do great with whatever mama sends us. And that's what I'm most passionate about right now, that we hold on to that line. And I'll say it this way. I don't know, you may not get to this question, but that's kind of what drives me with my whole mission. I did my doctoral study on interventions and RTI. I have a deaf brother, and that's what drives me in doing what I do, because I feel that public ed kind of missed diagnosing my brother's issue, and he was just dropped in special ed. And so and, and so from that point on, I said I will never let that happen to anybody else's child. And so that's my driving force, to make sure that we stand strong for all kids. And we could if mama trusts us with their babies, then we're going to take care of their babies.
I always try
Yeah.
not to cry on the podcast, but I always get so emotional. There's always something that just, you know, a mama's heart can change and a mama's life can change. I became a single mom. I have 6 kids and I became a single mom. And at some point the school became the other mothers and fathers for my kids. And even though their father was still very present in their life and their mother was, for those kids at that time, they were going through such a stressful situation.
Yeah.
And you just never know when the kids that come through your door, you never know what they're going through. And though I think the remarkable thing is that you as a superintendent get to lead these teachers that then lead these students, and the greatest things come from the students that we will never understand. Like there are things they're going to do with their life that we will never understand. I mean, who knew we'd be able to do a Zoom call and squeeze in meetings all day and see people from all over the world? Like you would not be able to explain that. We watched the Jetsons TV show when I was little, and so we watched it. Like we saw there was a TV show where people zoomed in, or Star Trek, but who knew that we'd kind of get to experience it? And so every day you get to do that work with leading teachers that will lead those students that are going to do things so much greater than we'll ever experience. And I love that that's your why,
Right.
that you want to make sure on your watch those students are taken care of to the best of your ability. So congratulations for that.
And so, Karina, I mean, I'll say it this way, Karina, I mean, I tell everybody, I lead the district through the eyes of a single mother. That's the way I lead the district, because my mom was a single mother. And so my mom was a single mom. I mean, we grew up very, very poor, and our mom says, you go up to that school and you make sure you take care of your business, and don't make me have to get off work to come up there and deal with you, you know. And so I knew that everything that I am and everything that I've grown to be was because of the educational system that surrounded me, because mom couldn't be there. You know, mom had to make a choice. Do I come to a parent-teacher conference, or do I stay at work and make sure I can pay the bills? Mm-hmm. And so, you know, so when I'm talking to my staff, you know, and I'm working with my staff, I mean, we're 93% economically disadvantaged here in West Orange. So I'm talking to my staff, I'm saying, hey, listen, you've got to make sure that you understand these situations. I said, and don't function from a middle class American mindset. You got to function from the mindset by which you're getting these students, because you got to create different ways in order to make sure our parents can be involved, and not make the parent have to make a tough decision between eating and coming and seeing what's going on with their children. That neither one of those is a good option.
Yeah,
I love that. I want to know. I know we're running short on time, and
Gary, you're not gonna have a chance, I don't think.
Always need. What's that? He doesn't have a chance. Did you say he doesn't have a chance? I'll save my question then. We always need more time.
Yeah, I know. We're always trying to get that question in, and it varies, but yeah, no, I was just going to add to it. No, I really like that approach. It shows empathy for your staff, for your students, for the community, and then at the same time, it's not like a canned approach. It's like you're adapting to the needs based on the situation, and
right.
You know, so. And I completely understand, you know, where your district's coming from, or where the community's coming from, you know, being, you know, in an area that, you know, is economically disadvantaged. So, I can appreciate that side of it as well. So, well, yeah, so I know we're running short on time here. And so I guess we'll close out. Before we close out, I guess here's the question. Who's the first person that comes to mind if you were to recommend somebody else come on the podcast?
Oh man, that's a hard one. To have so many good friends in this business that do a fabulous job. Oh man, that's a good one.
That one person.
I'm trying. That's what makes it difficult. You said one person. Okay.
First one that popped in your mind. You're like,
oh man. Well, the first one that pops in my mind, and you probably already had her, is Dr. Goffney at Aldine.
Well, actually, she was on my panel at Tassa Tasby, and she's a dearest friend. So I will say again, she has been recommended multiple times. We haven't figured out a schedule yet, but
I'll tell you another one.
Said yes. So give us another one, but we'll
tell you another one. A really good Roosevelt Nivens. He's probably been recommended also.
He has, but this is it's a perfect time for me to say another shout out and we can schedule. So Gary, stay on me with that because I have both yourself.
Nivens would be great. Nivens would be great. And then if I'm trying to think, is there someone else that I think that so many guys are doing a great job, but somebody that would be great for your podcast. I tell you another guy that I think that's right here in my neck of the woods that's doing a great job is Jay Kilgo over at Vider.
Oh, I don't think I know him. Okay.
Jay's doing a fabulous job, and he's been there. Like if I'm on year 8, starting year 9, I think Jay's starting year 11 or 12.
Okay, we'll reach out.
And Jay's doing a great job over there.
I want to know in one sentence or two, what's your best piece of advice for future superintendents or current superintendents? Just so one or two.
I would say leave a trail. I would say leave a positive trail. Because there are we're in a business now that there's a lot of us are getting out of the business. We're retiring and we're leaving because it's getting more and more difficult to do what we do. But the thing that I think that was best for me was I had a trail to follow. Dr. Adrian Johnson, in a book that he wrote, he's at Hearn, but he wrote a book and he talks about how he lived in a small town called Pelham, and his grandmother's house was across the field from his house. He could go out his back door and go in his grandmother's back door. He said, and they would walk through that trail all the time. She said, but one winter they had a hard winter, and nobody was going back and forth. He said, and he came outside and got ready to go to his grandma's house, and the trail was grown up. So he was forced to stand on the porch, okay, and not be able to get to his grandmother's house. And so I say that because a lot of leaders are going to come behind us that want and desire to be good superintendents, but they're so afraid to get off the porch because there's no trail. And I think it's our job to leave a trail so they don't have to try to figure it all out by themselves. They have somebody to fall out.
Well, yeah, that
was beautiful.
Yeah, very powerful, because we've had superintendents come on and talk about mentors and that sort of thing, but this is more present of like, hey, you're there, so leave a trail for the people that that are following or are on a different chapter in their journey. Well, awesome. Well, I know we're running short on time, so I'm going to go ahead and close out. Superintendent Harris, Corinne, thank you for being on the podcast. And for our listeners, stay tuned for future episodes of the Educational Leadership Podcast.